Hi everyone, Amy here with Never Grow Up Vacations, and now it's time to come fly with Amy. So today's video will hopefully be informational for you if you are considering and or are going on a trip to the Bahamas. So I did this type of video back when I visited Punta Cana, and it's now my most watched video. So people are looking for this type of information. So on this vlog today, it's just going to be a talk about how to get in and out of the Bahamas. As we all know, with COVID times, it's each country is different, protocols are different, timelines are different, and it can get really confusing. So I'm hoping that this video will be helpful to you. Now, the one thing I do have to preface this video with today is the filming of this date is December 13th. So depending on when you watch this video, you do still want to make sure that what I'm about to say is still accurate in terms of entry and exit procedures. So I will say Bahamas was probably one of the easiest destinations to get into, and I'll kind of lay out why. So to get into the Bahamas, you need to produce a couple different things. You need to produce your COVID vaccine card if you have one. If you don't, I'll explain what you do in that case. You need to present a COVID test, obviously negative, not gonna let you in if it's positive. So if you are vaccinated, it can be an antigen, a rapid response test, cannot be an at home because you need a doctor's result that shows the lab and everything. And then you also need a travel health visa through the Bahamas. So the way this process works is you go on the Bahamas Travel Advisory website, and it sends you to a link where you create this profile in their system. You update your personal information, you upload your vaccine card, and then when you get your test result, that's when you enter in your trip. So in our case, we did use the Walgreens. They call it Rapid ID. It's kind of like an antigen. It's actually an NAAT test, which we did double check. It was approved. And through Walgreens, you can make your appointment online. We ended up making ours 5-6 days out. Real quick, you just drive on up to the pharmacy drive-through. They give you a little nose swab, you swab it, and then we got our results within about an hour. So it was very quick, very easy. Now, if you are vaccinated, that rule is 5 days. No more than 5 days prior to your entry into the country. So that's a pretty good sized window, right? So we did all that. We uploaded our result. Once you put your result into the Travel Health Visa website, it takes a couple hours to get approved. In our case, it took about 4 hours. We got a little notification that says your visa's been approved, and now you are required to purchase their medical insurance to get onto the island. In our case, because it was a 3-night, 4-day trip, it was only $40. After you hit that 5-day threshold, it does go up in price. So if you are staying there for a little bit longer than we did, just know that that price is going to be a little bit more. This health insurance does cover your COVID testing while on the island, and then there are a couple different things covered if you do get COVID. And I will say the insurance, I was reading some of the guidance and benefits. It does seem a little bit on the low end of coverage for insurance. So because of that, we did choose to insure ourselves through TravelX, which we do pretty often, just to have that extra known coverage in case something were to happen. So that's the process if you're vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, you need to get a PCR test, and then you have to go through the same process I just mentioned. Now with that, it's a little bit more difficult because, as I'm sure most of you know, if it's a PCR test, your result can take anywhere between 2 to 3 days. If the testing labs are inundated, it could take a lot longer than that. So just be mindful of that. You will want to test on exactly 5 days out, and then you'll need to upload your travel health visa result at least a day prior to travel. And even that, you got to stay on top of that, because if not, you don't have all of what I just said, you will not be allowed to enter the country. So once you have all of that little documentation, you're obviously going to go check in for your flight. We flew American, so we used Verifly, which if you are flying American, I do recommend using that. Through Verify, you do upload all those docs I just mentioned, and it gives you a pre-boarding pass that you can then use to check in to your flight. Makes the process so much easier. When you get to the airport, you still do need to check in, and you do need to prove your return from the country. And then you also need to prove you have your health visa, otherwise they're not gonna let you go. So that was getting on the plane. When we arrived in the Bahamas, you get off the plane just like you normally would, and then you go through customs. Their customs looks a lot like the American customs. You basically wait in a nice little queue line. I waited about 15-20 minutes, so it really wasn't that long. My husband just about walked right on through, so it just depends like how many planes are really coming in at once as to how long you'll wait. When you get there, you'll need to show your travel health visa. This can be digital or it can be printed. I personally had mine digital, but I did see others printed, so I don't think it makes a difference with that. And then you will need to show your passport. You get a nice little passport stamps, and then through the airline, you'll also get a customs form. So we had to fill that out as we were coming on the airplane. Once you get all that together, they hopefully let you through. And then you go enjoy your little trip. A couple other things in regards to Bahamas travel. If you stay on the Bahamas more than 5 days, you need to get a 5-day rapid COVID test while staying there, in addition to your departure COVID test. Just a rule, it's a 5-day thing. In our case, because we were only there 3 nights, 4 days, we did not have to test in between our trip. For those of you who now know, or hopefully you know this, the US recently changed the re-entry requirements. Any international traveler now needs to have a COVID test 1 day prior to re-entry to the US. It does not say 24 hours, it is exactly just 1 day. So like, let's say your flight is at 6 p.m. Sunday. You can go anytime on Sunday. It doesn't have to be 6 p.m. Saturday, just 1 full day. So in our case, staying in Atlantis, one of the benefits of this hotel is that certain towers do get free COVID testing. In our case, we stayed in the Royal Tower at Atlantis, and we were able to get 2 free COVID tests, antigen tests for myself and my husband. The COVID testing, we did have to pre-book that. We actually received an email link from Atlantis about a week prior to our trip. So we were able to go online, schedule that. There's some QR codes around the resort as well. Super easy to get availability, super easy to get in. The testing happens right inside the Royal Tower, really close to the lobby, which is very convenient. You just stand in a little line. In our case, we went at a great time when there was no line at all. We were in and out within 5 minutes, and we got our result within an hour. So win-win. If you do need additional testing, certain countries are requiring PCRs to get back. You can get the PCR for an additional charge. I think on the sheet it said about $120, don't quote me on that, but it was in the 100s. And then if you were to need an additional COVID test for some other reason, you can just pay out of pocket for that. But you get your result emailed to you, and it's super easy. So we were then able to take that result, upload it back into Verify, get all of our pre-boarding documents, and then, easily get back into the country. When you get to the airport in the Bahamas, make sure you get there at least 3 hours prior to your boarding time, not your departure time, your boarding time, because Nassau, they pre-clear you for customs if you're a US citizen. So what that means, a lot of people are used to, you just kind of walk through the airport in international territory, and then you get off the plane in the US and then you go through customs. It's the opposite in the Bahamas, which is a benefit because then you don't have to worry about it when you get back to the States. So when you get to the airport, you still have to check into your kiosk, check your luggage, still have to go through your security screening, like your TSA type thing, and then you have to wait for customs. In the case that we went, we flew back on a Sunday, and we ended up waiting, it was a good 45 minutes to an hour just to get through passport control. So just kind of remember that, like, do not show up an hour and a half prior and expect to get through, because it might be lengthy. So for the customs, you do need obviously your passport, and you need a valid boarding pass. Otherwise, they won't let you through. When you get up to customs, they're gonna ask you some questions about, are you claiming anything? What'd you do? Where'd you go? Most of the time, they're not gonna give you an issue, and then you're gonna clear customs. And then you shimmy on down to your boarding gate, and you get back on again. At the boarding gate, we did have to scan our passports one more time, just for one last verification. But there we were, back on the airplane and back in the US. And then when you get to the US, you just continue on with life. So it's pretty nice. So I hope this video was helpful to you. Again, today's date that I'm recording this, December 13th. So depending on what the guidelines change, this may still be relevant, this may not be relevant. I always advise clients to check often. Even if you've just checked the requirements, check again. Because, as of late, they've been changing, sometimes monthly, sometimes weekly. And the last thing you want is to show up and not be allowed in. So, hopefully this was helpful to you. If you have any further questions about entry into the Bahamas, please let me know. There's a little bit more in depth if you're going island hopping in the Bahamas, but I did not do that, so I'm not going to speak to that. But be careful, read the website, do what you have to do so you can enjoy your trip. If you have any questions, drop down below. Be sure to hit the thumbs up if you found this video helpful, and please subscribe to my channel so I can keep bringing you helpful and useful content and trips. And until next time, happy travels. Bye.